Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I am Love. So as you can see, I'm currently at my place of quarantine. So I will make another video about showing you my quarantine room tour and how I'm managing in quarantine, how I get the food and everything. But that's for another video. In this video, as you can see from the title, I will specifically be talking about my entire immigration experience at the Delhi airport because I traveled from Delhi to Toronto, and then I'll share my entire experience at the Toronto airport, the entire immigration experience, and I will also cover some more details about what other students were facing in the line, and I will be sharing some of my flight experience too. So this video will be helpful for someone who's traveling for the first time or someone who's returning as a student or as a worker or anyone. And I will also be telling you how things have changed because I also traveled in 2018 and how it has changed. What questions did they ask, like exactly what questions did they ask. And so make sure to stick to the end of the video, guys. It will be really helpful and informative. And without wasting any, let's begin. So basically my flight was from Delhi to Toronto Air Canada at 12:50 a.m. and I arrived at the airport around 8 p.m., which was around 4 hours earlier than my flight. So I would recommend everyone to come around 4 hours earlier before their flight, because even though I came 4 hours earlier, I still had to stand in the check-in line for about 20 to 30 minutes, which was still a long line. So basically, when I arrived at the Air Canada counter, the first document that they asked me was my COVID test report. So guys, make sure you bring your COVID test report in hand. It should be an RT-PCR COVID test and should be done within 72 hours of your flight time. You show it to them, and the next thing is they asked me my passport and then the flight ticket, and then I gave my baggage and everything. Basically, Air Canada, the people at the Air Canada were really sweet. I had like 0.5 kgs extra in both of my bags, but they still didn't say anything about it, and it was really sweet of them. And I was also allowed to carry a carry-on bag and a personal item, which is your laptop bag. So I used like a backpack for that, and I had my documents and my laptop in that bag, and in the check-in bag I had some of my more, and in the carry-on bag I had some of my more clothes. So I carried that. They gave me a health declaration form, which, guys, you need to keep it safe, fill it out, and that is also one of the most important documents, because they will ask you at the Toronto airport for the health declaration form at least 3 times. Like 3 different officers asked me for that form, so make sure to keep it safe in the flight. And then I checked in, and then I went and got my security check, and then I went for the immigration at the Delhi airport. At the Delhi airport, the immigration was really smooth. I didn't expect it to be that smooth. So basically, I went in, and the first question that the officer asked me was, where are you going? So I said Toronto, and then he asked me, what's your purpose of visit? So I said I'll be a student, so I'm going to study. And then he asked me for my letter of acceptance. He just saw it, and then he was like, okay, fine. Took my passport, stamped, and I was allowed to go. After that, I was at the duty free, sitting in the food counter, and then I board the plane. So the boarding starts at like an hour before. So the plane basically was completely full, and but however, Air Canada, the flight was really smooth. They provided like a dinner and then a breakfast and then some snacks in between. So the flight overall was really smooth, and it was great. It was great. And then after that, I arrived at Toronto airport around 5:30 a.m. in the morning. So when you arrive at the Toronto airport, you like go through the arrivals, and then you have to stand in a line. So basically there's 2 different lines. So when my number came, basically they asked me to show them the arrive CAN-app receipt, my passport, the health declaration form that I was given at the Indian airport, and then the COVID test report again. So again, these 2 are the main important documents. So they asked me for these 4 documents, and then they were like, okay, you can go, and your next stage would be to go through the immigration. So then I went for the immigration. There was another line for immigration. So after that, when my number came for the immigration, it was also quite smooth for me. It wasn't too much, but I'll also tell you what happened with other students too. So in my immigration, so the first thing she asked me was to present the COVID test report, the letter of acceptance from school, the Arrive CAN-app receipt, and the letter of introduction from GC Key. So she asked me about that. She didn't ask it to other students, but I was asked about the letter of introduction. And she saw all my documents. So since I'm a returning student as well, but I had to reapply for the visa, so she asked me, did you study before in Canada? So I said yes, but my visa got expired due to pandemic, and now I reapplied, and now I'm back. So she gave me my study permit, and then she asked me, so where are you going to quarantine? So I said I will be doing a quarantine at this particular place. And then so I already made a video about the quarantine plan form, so I gave her that form as well, and she read the form and she was like, okay, that's fine. I also had a document from my school, from my college, which said the same about my quarantine plan. So guys, basically the form form that I'm talking about is like a summary of your quarantine plan. If you would like to have that form, you can email me or you can contact me on any social media and I will send it to you. And I showed it to her, and then she was like, okay, you can go. Now you'll have to go through a COVID test at the airport. So that was with the immigration officer. So after that, I met some other students too who were in line. So I asked them like, what questions did they ask you and what happened for the first timers. So they said like, she asked me, the immigration officer, she asked me for my letter of acceptance, fee receipt, if you have a GIC certificate, that, and then the COVID test report, your passport, and then the letter of introduction. They asked for some of them, not for everyone. And then they also asked about the quarantine plan, where will you be staying and how will you be doing the groceries or getting the food items, like questions like those. And then it was quite smooth. After that, we took our luggage and then we had to go through the COVID test. So for the COVID test, so basically when I was at the Indian airport during the time of check-in, the officer told me like I can register it online, like a page attached to their board, and she was like, you can scan this QR code on your phone, which opened on Safari to an app, and you can simply register it by putting in information for the COVID test at Toronto. Guys, I would recommend do that in advance in India, because when I arrived here and when I was about to go for the COVID test, there was another line for the COVID test for the people who haven't registered. Since I already registered for it, they let me go directly to the COVID test, and I didn't have to waste another half an hour standing in the line to get it registered. So I went for the COVID test. The COVID test was fine. After the COVID test was done, they were like, okay, you can go home now, you can go to your quarantine place. So then after that, I moved ahead and then I was able to exit from the airport, and then finally I was able to get back to my place of quarantine. Other than that, also one more thing that I forgot to mention at the Indian airport. So basically, if you're carrying jewelry, so there was this lady who was standing in front of me during the security check-in. So basically when they scan the items, they would also ask you to show the jewelry, and they also asked that lady, she was like right next to me, they asked her for her receipt of the jewelry, and if she was carrying toys with her, because she had like a little baby, so she had to show them the receipt of the jewelry as well. So make sure you carry the receipts for all these items. And other than that, some other students who I saw having problems were only because they were not able to answer basic questions. So I saw like I was standing in the line and I saw like the officer shouting at one of the student, and because the student wasn't even able to answer a simple question like why is he in Toronto, and he was like, why the fuck are you in Toronto, like what's your purpose of visit, and he wasn't able to answer listen, so you won't face any problems at all if you are able to answer all these basic questions like what's your study program, which college are you going to, what was your start date, what's your purpose of travel. If you're a student, you should say I'm studying. If you're a worker, you should say I will be working. You should know these basic information about yourself, and you should be able to answer all these questions confidently. They're also really helpful and really sweet people at the immigration officers, but if you're unable to answer these basic questions, then no one can help you out. So that was like a brief summary of what happened at the immigration experience at the Toronto airport. And let's go ahead and I'll show you the documents that how I carried them, so it will give you a good idea. So as you can see, I basically prepared this file with all my documents, and these were all the documents that I carried with me. It depends on your case. So I had my COVID test report first, and then I had my flight ticket organized, and then I had like letters from my school and the quarantine forms, the quarantine plan form. Also, I also had like 2 pens in my folder. So guys, also make sure to bring a pen with you when you are flying and when you're keeping this folder with you. So yeah, that's about it, guys. This was all the immigration experience that I could share with you in details as much as I can. If you still have any questions, guys, do drop down a comment. I will get back to all of you. I'll answer all your questions. Do leave a like if you find this video useful and helpful, and if it answered your questions. Guys, please do subscribe to my channel, be a part of my journey. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.